Anyway, hey guys, this is SK.
And Lantis.
Caught my throat. And this.
He forgets to click back up to the window every single.
No, it was not every single time.
Every time.
Don't exaggerate.
It's been 90% of the time.
That's not every time. No, is it?
Out of the.
I'm just saying, don't exaggerate.
But how many of these have we done?
About 10.
10?
I bet you at least 2 or 3 times I didn't forget to quit.
Maybe once.
Nope, 2 or 3.
No, actually, I've been recording them. I've been hitting the record button every single time we've done this so far until today when we started LPing again.
Okay, and?
So, you've only done it like 4 or 5 times. Pretty sure every single time. Every single time.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's time to go back into the water motif area, or the area behind the water motif door, and
SK.
finish up the rest of what
SK?
we're doing.
You find it reasonable when I say the name. Bickus. Dickus.
No, but I do find it funny.
He has a wife, you know.
He said that, I was like, oh no, don't go there. I actually really need to drop some of these items off to make room in the main area.
Right.
Not to make room in the main area, drop some of these items off in the main area to make room. I'm sure you knew what I meant.
Skitter, skitter, skitter.
Skitter, skitter, skitter. So yeah, just got back from church and I feel refreshed.
Let's see how long it takes before you start swearing.
Not too long.
I know. That's a really hard thing,
but
you know?
But that's one of the things where I think people get way too much into the details about, you know, if somebody like swears a little bit, they're like, oh, not, you know, not doing what God wants you to do. It's like, we kind of ignore the actual stuff that's so obviously wrong. And we get concentrating on the details. Like, somebody would say just because we're sitting here playing a game where you shoot zombies, that'd be like, you know, something that a heathen would do.
Oh, yeah, you want to talk about that? Remember that story about the 2 little girls that took one of their other little girlfriends out in the woods and almost stabbed her to death to try to meet Slenderman, and then it turned out later that she believes she can talk to Voldemort? And they're like...
So I so bet you the ultra... hyper-religious conservative, yeah, I heard it, jumped all over that. It's like, aha! Just because there's...
Harry Potter!
Just because there's a correlation, they believe there's a connection.
Right, like violence...
She just happens to be psychotic and watches Harry Potter.
Right, which is the same thing with, you know, school shootings and those shooters liking to play video games. I mean...
Yeah, I mean...
It just happens.
And why is it always video games? Why is it never, like, movies? How come they get a pass, or that nobody brings it?
What about books? You know what? I guarantee you there is more graphic and gruesome details in books than there ever will be in video games.
Really?
Yes, there is a book, right? Yeah. Not even gonna. I don't remember the title of it, but I remember like looking into it at one point. There is a book that in details talks about a dude raping a girl with a heated tire iron.
Billy, you idiot!
You should have hit him with the Molotov instead. You dead? Good.
Somehow it didn't take him from fine to caution, so I'll take it. Sure. Yeah, somehow it made the body disappear completely. That's cool.
Huh. Oh, okay, that was a thing.
The vice handle. I think this is where Birkin and Wesker were hanging out earlier, watching us on monitor.
Well, there's a bunch of monitors. That really lends well to your hypothesis. Yeah. Your hypothesis.
Like, dude, there was one time... It's like we stopped... The hyper-religious kind of fundamentalist type Christians, they kind of forget about actual stuff that's obviously evil. And they're worried about... Here's a story. I remember there was like a group one time. There was like a church group that protested it might have been McDonald's because it was like a Happy Meal kind of toy. When they had like toys from the Cardcaptor Sakura franchise included in their Happy Meals, simply because magic is involved in Cardcaptor Sakura, this was a demonic thing that this church group needed to protest, being shelled out to kids. And it's like Cardcaptor Sakura, a little girl, waves a magic wand at shit, and the most innocent kind of. It's not even funny. And it's like, they were protesting that was some kind of serious demonic influence. Magic, sorcery,
now,
whatever.
That sounds dumb to you, right?
Yeah.
Imagine atheists, right?
Yeah.
Who don't even believe that Satan exists, right? How stupid do they look to them? Like, oh no, they're gonna become, freaking Satanists and worship the devil.
Refined beliefs, I don't think there's that much. There's not as much detail as we make them out. As we make it out to be about Satan and demons and stuff. But I think we've kind of listened to too many fables. But
the thing is, I don't believe spiritual, like tangible spiritual influences, like demonic possessions, hauntings, or divine intervention through angels and freaking that kind of stuff. I don't think that happens. I just don't believe that. It just doesn't.
Well, it's hard to say exactly what I believe on this subject. Just in general, I think we've kind of added too much mysticism and fairy tale-ish BS to our theology, mainstream theology Anyway, the point is, it's like, Cardcaptor Sakura, really?
The most,
that's nothing compared to the evils that Christians themselves are capable of, that we've seen in plenty of. Just first thing that comes to mind, of course, and that's the one everybody's gonna know. Westboro.
Yeah.
Don't even talk about. So
the thing is, I don't know much about Cardcaptor Sakura outside of the little bit of
me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fan. I ain't gonna lie.
From what I could tell, it's basically young Sailor Moon, right?
Except not as dumb.
Okay, I'll give you that. I mean, I wouldn't know.
I remember I kind of gave you like a short thesis on exactly what is the difference here, why Sailor Moon is stupid, and yet I still love Cardcaptor Sakura in my adult age. I remember telling you about that once, and we can get into that afterwards if you don't quite remember.
Right. Well, does it have the Monster of the Day formula? Is it,
Yes,
okay.
Pretty much.
That's why I make the comparison.
Right. And the fact is, either way, it's still something you would expect only a child to be interested in.
And to use as a medium to become a demon worshiper, of course.
Yeah, apparently.
Duh.
Yeah. It's just like, honestly, I think too many people with our kind of faith, they're too scared to live their daily lives, honestly, without fear that there's some kind of spiritual warfare going on where they're, and I put this in such quotations, because again, my Reformed beliefs about this, your eternal soul is at stake, and people are like, these spiritual things that, entities are fighting over you constantly to keep you at it, either drag you to hell or make sure you make it.
Did you ever see that movie?
Drag Me to Hell?
Mm-hmm.
No, I heard it was actually pretty good.
I didn't like it.
Really?
Alright, so...
should have kept Billy out there at the piano.
So, I'm a pretty big fan of Sam Raimi, right? I like Sam Raimi and all his work. Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, The Grudge, etc., right?
Sam Raimi did the American version of The Grudge?
Yeah.
Cool.
And Grudge 2, right? And he also ended up doing, like, Spider-Man, but, that's not really, I think his best work is in the horror genre, right? So whenever I heard about Drag Me to Hell and it was going to be done by Sam Raimi did Drag Me to Hell if you didn't know, I was excited, right?
Right.
But the thing is, there's a certain style that Sam Raimi does in all of his movies, all of his horror films, right? Which I've kind of, like, picked up on. And I feel like Drag Me to Hell was such low-hanging fruit because the entire movie was just build up, jump scare, build up, jump scare, build up, jump scare. The entire freaking way through the movie. Right. And it didn't really have a story. It didn't didn't just feel like a movie. It just felt like cheap thrills, you know? And
Okay.
and I just came out of it being like, wow, that okay. I mean, the build-ups were pretty good, but the jump scares just, I don't know. Like you take the Grudge for example, right? The build-up with the Grudge ghost, that backwards breathing, the crackly backwards breathing the ghost does.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
And like, freaking, she ends up in the sheets of your own bed, and just creepy stuff like that. I don't know. I can't explain it, but I just thought Drag Me to Hell was so cheap. I don't know.
I heard as far as horror movies go, it was actually, most people liked it.
Well, I mean, that's, I don't know. I just think that there's a better way to do horror outside of cheap jump scares, right?
Okay.
And, take Exorcism of Emily Rose. Probably what I consider one of the best horror films of all time.
Yeah, I was amazed at how much both of us liked that movie.
Yeah,
when we
dude.
first saw it.
I think Drag Me to Hell is like the exact opposite of that. Like, even the remake of Evil Dead that wasn't done by Sam Raimi at all.
Yeah.
I ended up thinking that was pretty good. I thought I was going to go in there and hate it, especially since they replaced Ash with a chick. Like,
right.
Instead of Ashley,
they made a female lead.
there's a literal Ashley, like a female Ash. But the thing is, it ended up being pretty good. Like, they ended up keeping the lore of the Kandarian demons in there, and the more modernized reason why they're at the cabin in the woods in the first place, and the way it plays out in the final scene was really cool. Like, just really cool. And there's still some things in that movie that just like, it's like rubbing myself because I'm like, God. Like, so, one of the Kandarian spirits, will infect a human, right, and turn them into a Kandarian demon. They'll do things, right? This is before they were figuring out what's going on, right? And there's a chick there. So here's the setup, right? Ash, the character, is a drug addict, right?
Right.
And she can't kick the habit. She asks her friends for help, right? They're like, all right, this is what we'll do. We'll go to this cabin, away from civilization at all. You promise us that you don't have any drugs on you. We'll stay at this cabin for a weekend, right? And we'll help you quit cold turkey. Now here's the thing. You can't get drugs here. It's in the middle of nowhere. So once we're here, you can't leave, right? So what happens is they find the tape of the dude reading the words from the Necronomicon that revives the demons, and little things start happening, and she's like, guys, something's not right. And everybody's like, you're just tripping from not having your drugs, right?
Right.
You're addicted. You're
like
hallucinating. You're relapsing. You're all this
withdrawal symptoms. I think
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
you're looking for.
Withdrawal symptoms. And so it's a great setup for letting things get really bad before people start catching on to what's going on, right?
Right.
So they brought one of these chicks, which is a nurse. One of their friends is a nurse that can help with this kind of thing, right? And she was one of the first people to get possessed by a Kandarian demon. So she was getting a syringe ready to help her coats with, something that was going on, right? She got infected, and one of the friends came in there to be like, hey, what's taking so long? But she's been taken by that time. Still had the syringe in her hand, right?
Oh no.
And she turns around, and she's like, her face is all messed up. She just goes wildly stabbing at this guy. And, eventually he kicks her off, and she, like, unpossesses, right? Or something. And, like, he's, like, looking at the syringe, the needle's gone. And he's, like, feeling his face, right? He does this on him, and he goes, pinches, and he starts pulling the needle out of beneath his, like, eye socket and eyelid, just pulling it out. And I'm like, no!
Ugh.
Oh, golly. It just gives me goosebumps just talking about it. Because that's one of the things I have a hard time dealing with. Watching is needles and eye problem, like eye damage. So that really got me going.
So I tell you, like, your main problem with Drag Me to Hell was, like, it was all and, like, the whole entire point of our conversation has gotten turned around. But anyway, so let's just go with what's current.
Okay.
I take it your issue with Drag Me to Hell overall is the fact that you felt it was nothing but jump scares.
Yeah, that's it. So the story is the main character works at a...
I know the story.
At a law firm or and some old lady's house is about to be sold, and she's like, I can't help you. So she gets cursed. And then the old lady dies, and the only person that can remove the curse. And the entire movie is just jump scares. That's it. That's the setup and the storyline. Nothing more.
Yeah. Well, it's like, then you can kind of see the difference between that and, say, another great work of horror that I assume you were as much of a fan of it as I am, or at least close to it, Fatal Frame. There were a lot of jump scares in Fatal Frame, but at the same time, it still had the substance of the atmosphere and a good story. So it's totally okay to have jump scares in the midst of that. Totally okay. And in fact, I think I would pretty much encourage it.
And it depends on, like, jump scares can be done well. Like, there can be, tactful jump scares. Like, that mirror you pass by 50 bajillion times, and that one time you're looking at it, and in the reflection you see someone walk past the hallway, and you see...
Are you talking about in 3, which was my personal favorite jump scare, the Crimson Nail Woman coming up behind... Well, actually, no, there was one part where you just saw, like, a
passerby.
Yeah, and then there was another part where looking in that same mirror, all of a sudden it was fogged up, and there was, like... I think there were, like, bloody claw marks in the glass, and you're like, what? All of a sudden, the Crimson Nail Woman leaps up behind you, and looks like she's about to, like, wrap you up in a hug from behind, which I'm pretty sure would be lethal. But, of course, vanishes at the last possible moment. And
Billy, would you please...
Over there.
Okay. So, then we'll just go over to him, solo.
But, yeah, like, I think...
Yeah, that's... See, that kind of horror, like, there's horror that's just, like, retarded, just no class. You can tell it's just there for, like, shock value or something else stupid. And then there's horror like Fatal Frame that it's so classy. I don't know how else to
Now, I will give, there were still, like, some obvious Sam Raimi references, or Sam Raimi, like, things in Drag Me to Hell that you notice. Like, Sam Raimi always works in just the slightest sprinkle of humor when he can. Just a very vague hint, right? So, she's at her house, and she's being, slowly tortured, like, tortured by the demonic goat that she's been cursed with, right?
Right.
And she's looking up things, and one of the tips that she said would be sacrificing an animal to appease the demon. So she's sitting there reading it, and she looks over, and she has a cat, like, in her home.
Oh boy.
Right, and she's looking at the cat. She's like, no, this is stupid. I can't even imagine. This is stupid, right? Then, like, 5 seconds later, another really heavy, like, demonic torture session happens. Good job.
Final tablet.
Yep.
Let's get the hell out of here.
And after that session of jump scares is over, the very next scene you see her burying the cat, and you're like, oh.
And it's like the very fact that they actually, I think in that case, the very fact that they skipped
the
actually
actual
showing
killing.
her, that's what actually gave it even more of an impact than. Normally, if you gloss over something like that, you're kind of like, okay, where is the value? Like, where's the value of horror here? Like, where is it? You didn't even let us see it.
Low-hanging fruit. Like, it's all implied, and you get it, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of lends itself as a joke, almost. It's like, I can't kill my cat. Boogity, boogity, boogity. All right, bye, cat. Ugh.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure we've covered everything behind the water motif door and leave some idle space to pick up stuff.
But yeah,
Go ahead and drop that here too.
yeah.
Yeah, there's one thing and of course this is all personal opinion. I mean, I kind of really hinge on the fact that I do believe God created people to be different from each other. That's why, partly why, in our personal thinking about Him and who Christ is and all that stuff, it can totally differ from person to person and still be right. Not this, we condemn each other too much over different ways of interpreting the Scripture and stuff. One thing I do agree with that is entirely just based on human thought. I couldn't really like tell you a place in the Bible where it says this, but I like what I've heard a lot of people in my church have said before in other Baptist churches is they're like, you know, if atheists want to get onto you, like unbelievers in general, they want to get onto you about like, you know, they can't abide the concept of hell. And so if they kind of want to like take a jab at you, like, you know, test whether you're that kind of like hater that just likes to condemn everybody or not. So they're like, so what's this you believe again? It's like, where do you believe that Christ believers go when they die? Well, to heaven. They're like, so they try to get you. So where do sinners go? And you just respond, to church. So it kind of like, you know, drives the point home. It's like, it's not about judging and condemnation. Church isn't supposed to be a place of that. It's supposed to be where you kind of develop your personal relationship and learn more. And it's supposed to be refreshment and encouragement, not, you know, you're going to hell.
Right. You know what I like, this is a little off topic, but kind of on topic.
Church.
That's funny. But, I hate the idea that the, like, atheists are looked at as bad people. Atheists aren't bad people, right? Like, name a single time that Sean has ever, like, made you feel bad about your religion, your beliefs, right?
I don't recall.
That's because he hasn't. Atheists are actually, or can be, a lot more
Philanthropic?
Philanthropic.
I don't know if
I don't know if there's a
like
verb.
acting like a philanthropist.
Yes.
I don't know if it'd be philanthropic
Or
philanthropic. I don't know. It could be.
But no, yeah, but I've seen atheists be more of an philanthropist. I already said that word far too many times to say it right anymore.
Yeah.
Than a lot of Christians, you know. And I don't know. It's just, I think that there's a lot. The only difference between you as a person and an atheist as a person is personal beliefs.
Right.
Nothing about their personality.
And oftentimes their personal beliefs can totally match up.
Yeah.
It's just the personal belief about Christ and
right.
that kind of thing in general. That's generally usually the only part where we differ.
Yeah.
And
So
again, there's a whole school of thought that God will reconcile everybody, and that any kind of punishment is corrective, which I'm open to, because I believe that Christians who believe that way, they have some of the best and most loving attitudes, and
right.
most reverential attitudes towards God. So I'm totally open to them. I'm cool with them. I say, if that's the way it ends up, awesome.
I don't know. I just feel like there's, within, like, the Christian community, there's this, like, just this stereotypic view of atheists as bad people, right?
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate it.
And I'm glad I came back here for one thing. Here's another thing. Like, here's a good example. Resident Evil, right here.
Right?
You know, at one point I went on hiatus because I started to become, for lack of a better term, spiritual. Where was that, Ritter? Okay, I kind of had to like, for lack of a better term, spiritually sensitive to this kind of thing. I kind of came to a point where in my life where I felt it was in the way, and I've been spending too much of my time with it. But it's like, dude, you disagree. You were like, well, I'm gonna keep playing this, and I didn't tell you, no, dude, you got to stop playing it because I believe it's like Antichrist and demonic and stuff. I wasn't like that. It was like, what is working for you at the time? What are your personal beliefs? What are your personal ideals? And you really shouldn't have a problem with the other person just for disagreeing.
Right, absolutely.
And you were cool with me, just, you know,
I was
stepping back.
I was a little butthurt once they started coming out with multiplayer Resident Evils and you're still out.
I know.
I'm not even going to defend myself there. I was a little, like, you know, cross arms, like, humph.
Well, okay, you didn't give me a hard time about it, so it's not, so it's totally no big deal. And this is what I hate about I don't have a problem with the fact that there are so many, like, I think the last time I checked, and this may be like a general just kind of consensus, or I don't know if there was actually like a study done, serious research, that kind of thing, but I don't have there's supposedly like over 3,000 denominations in existence now.
Right.
That in and of itself is not the problem. I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's the fact that most of those denominations, or rather most people in those denominations, point fingers and accuse and judge each other of being totally wrong and being like not true believer, all that kind of bull crap. The fact that we differ is not the problem on some personal theologies.
Like Family Guy actually made fun of that, right? So.
And you know what? I almost can't blame them.
No.
Because that's how we look to unbelievers. They're like, they look at us like condemning each other. And they're like, why do I want to be a part of that?
Right.
What's it?
And
how does this match up with the Christ that you're supposedly preaching?
And that's especially true with like homosexuals, right?
Yeah.
Like homosexuals that seek the church and get turned away because they're gay. They're not allowed here.
Yeah. And it's not even like just because you're homosexual necessarily means you're like this horrible, like selfish, fornicating everywhere kind of dude. Like some people just have homosexual feelings and they're kind of like wondering what's up with themselves, and they're seeking help or just like more knowledge about, okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling?
I don't think they need to seek help. They don't need help.
Well, you know what I mean.
Right.
I don't mean like demon, like exorcism or something. I mean,
whatever. It's just
they're wondering about themselves. Not like this.
But yeah, going back to this Family Guy skit, it showed like this multitude of people like at the pearly gates, like right before they'd be allowed into heaven, and there's just like a giant multitude of people that was representing like all the different denominations, right? And it showed Jesus standing right in front of the gate, looking at him, and he goes, "Sorry guys, the correct answer was Baptists. So all of that, come on." So like there's only one right one, and it wasn't Baptist either. It was like some really obscure one on top of that. So
I especially hate when like there's like a denomination, and I think this is mostly how like pretty much the Catholic Church in general thinks of it. If you're not a member of their church, then you're not a true believer. I hate that.
You can be a true believer and not go to a specific church.
Right.
I mean, that's dumb. Like, I could believe in the freaking flying spaghetti monster, and I don't have to go to a building to believe in it.
But
I've been trying to get this audio fixed.
I kind of like the view of, the church being a hospital for sinners, because we all are.
Yep.
So it's like, I totally encourage you to go, but if there's one that just is, like, abusive and, they're so theologically, like, I'm totally right, you're wrong, just can't see any kind of gray matter or room for, discussion, self-reflection, thought, just personal thought. It's just pastors like, listen to me or else.
So you know why they're like that, right? You know why they're so set on it?
You know what I've come to the conclusion of on that?
What?
People are too scared to be wrong.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's like, if they allow any kind of doubt whatsoever, or any kind of, like, acceptance that they might not be right, that their entire faith is debunked, right? And so, I don't know, they get this, like, ironclad will that...
Well, dude, I have drastically reformed beliefs about a lot of things,
yeah,
but that hasn't debunked my faith.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It just meant I have room for growth. I can mature.
Right. But that's the problem. Other people don't see it that way. Right. They're like, well, if I have these doubts, then obviously I'm not a true believer. Therefore, I have to double up on my beliefs and stand firm.
Because I must be right. I can't be wrong about anything.
Or else I'm destined to go to hell. So I'm going to...
Well, dude, that's the main reason I don't believe in traditional hell anymore, is because I believe it's that very theology that has got people too scared to be wrong about anything. and that leads to control. And I don't mean to get all Yoda with that. I know I kind of sounded vaguely like Yoda there. So.
Oh no, I get you. My gosh, this turned out to be
Yeah,
really interesting conversation commentary for a Resident Evil game.
Yeah, it sure has. And oh my gosh, I totally cannot find. I can't find the. I don't remember where the observatory room is, where you put in all three of these tablet thingies.
Oh.
So quite frankly, what we're gonna do is it's about time to end an episode anyway. We're gonna find that place, and we'll start another episode from there to make sure we, so you can see us unlock the way to the next section of the game.
Yep.
We'll finish that episode as normal, and then we'll cut out for the night. So yeah, see you next time, guys.
Later.